What a night in the NBA. Tight games in New York and in Golden State. They actually call a LeBron travel. And what the hell did Jordan Poole do? We'll talk about that. And is Dillon Brooks a scapegoat? It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back. Welcome to the NBA Locked On NBA podcast. I'm already screwing up right off the top. I can't host this show anymore. I have no idea. Welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. This is a fun time to be here. I'm your regular Wednesday host. Haven't been here for a couple of weeks because I'm covering the Boston Celtics, but I am the host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison. I've been here the whole time. Y'all are stuck with me till probably the end of time here. I host the Locked On Pelicans podcast, and I'm on Twitter at NolaJake because I don't have stuff to cover right now.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Celtics are playing, I might not have anything to cover in short order. But that's something for the guys to talk about tomorrow. Hopefully, for my sake and my podcast's sake, that's not how it goes. But hey, Joel Embiid is the MVP. He's probably not going to play, but we'll talk about Joel in the third segment when we play our game of real or fake. Joel and Dillon Brooks.
Love it, man. I just want to make jokes about that for a minute in the third segment, and then we'll actually talk about it.
I've never seen a report like that. That's coming up later on. We'll talk about Heat and Knicks in the second segment. But let's start off with this wild, crazy win for the Los Angeles Lakers in Golden State. Golden State unbeatable at home all season long, and now they've dropped this game one of the semifinals to the Lakers. 117-112. Jordan Poole is going to be the headline after everything because he hoisted a 36-foot shot with 9 seconds to go, 9.7 seconds to go, and with timeouts and with the ball, and it's just it erased a huge comeback by the Warriors. They are never out of the game, but hey, shout out to the Lakers for the defense that they played. That run notwithstanding, they played great defense for most of the game, and then down the stretch, great defense to close this thing out.
Look, there's a reason Jordan Poole took that shot and not Steph Curry, and it's because they doubled him and forced the ball out of his hands, and they were going to let, the Warriors were down 3. The Lakers were going to let anyone other than Curry take that shot, and you know what? That's probably the best thing that you can do, and it really worked out with Poole. It was 27 feet. The Warriors had a timeout to take two.
83, it was 83 feet.
He's
standing out of bounds
for a record.
The other end.
It's just like, I don't know. He was open. He had been 6 of 10, 6 of 9 from 3 before that. I don't hate the shot, and then you kind of think about like the situation around it, right? You have a chance to tie to go to overtime when you have all the momentum and you probably win that, let's say. I don't hate it that he was open, but that's definitely not Poole's shot to take. And Steve Kerr, take a timeout. The second the ball left Curry's hand, you had 2 timeouts. Take one and drop an inbound where you can get him a clean catch and shoot look.
Yeah. First of all, today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available for U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. This is a tough situation for Steve Kerr. And look, I hated that shot. Because there was 9 seconds left.
There's time.
You have to believe. Well, first of all, he had a runway. Take a couple of steps in. Just take a couple of steps, get into rhythm, get a little closer. You know what I mean? And I understand maybe that sounds like old manish, but you don't have to be that far away. Secondly, I agree. Most coaches, like if this was a Celtics situation and Jason Tatum gave that ball up and it's in Marcus Smart's hands, I'd be screaming for Joe Mazzulla to call a timeout. But Steph Curry is such a master at getting open and finding ways to slither his way to a spot where he can get a clean look. I see the thought process of get it to Jordan Poole. Let's see what Steph can do. And if you see Steph being kind of like jostled, they're physical, they're preventing him from getting to a spot, then you call a timeout and you run something. But I can see letting that play out a little bit longer. Jordan Poole has to understand
that's not your shot, dude. It's not your shot.
It's not your shot. That's not your shot. It's just not. Like, you should be using your gravity, and I can appreciate the confidence, but that's not your shot. That's not the shot to take.
No, look, it was a semi-transition opportunity for them, right? And that's where the Lakers had been, I thought, really good all game, was kind of limiting those type of possessions. When you go talk about their defense, right? It's Anthony Davis down low doing everything he could, even though he had a stretch where it's like, what are you doing, AD? And then them kind of slowing the Warriors down in transition, kind of negating that big advantage I think the Warriors could have. And so it was that, and they did a good job. So you could easily see Curry moving around, trying to spring open after getting it to Poole. But Poole got that ball and was like, he's shooting it. And you knew he was going to shoot it. This is like the J.R. Smith, LeBron James meme from when these two teams met in the finals in game one it was too, right? The everything that going the wrong way. And you feel like just doing that to Jordan Poole here because like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He was 6 of 10 from 3. He was feeling it. He was hot. And that's just, hey, look, he actually was their best 3-point shooter in this game. So
that's why I don't hate it.
Yeah.
But I don't like it either.
I don't like it. That's just situational awareness. You just got to look for Steph in that situation. But meanwhile, I don't know if this is a situation where, I don't think the Warriors are really hurt necessarily by losing this first game. I think you can throw out the road record thing from the regular season. So I don't think the Warriors are too upset. I mean, they lost game 1 of the finals and they came back to win. So they know that this is a long series. So I still have some trust in the Warriors, but if from the Lakers side, man, yes, you're right. Anthony Davis had that stretch of like, hey, you remember you're Anthony Davis, right? And 30 points and 23 rebounds. He
was awesome. I want to make that very clear. Like, he was fantastic. It's more of the Lakers also just not getting him the ball at times when they don't score, right? It's like, I don't know, get AD the ball. He didn't touch the ball for the first 4 minutes of the game, and they were down, not big, but down early. And then it's like, oh, they gave him the ball and they got right back in it.
First Laker with a 30-20 playoff game since Shaq in 2004. The list is Shaq, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, and Anthony Davis. Wow, what a list to be on. 30-20 in a playoff game is amazing. This is such a tantalizing kind of look at this run by Anthony Davis. What if he had stayed healthy all of this time? This stretch is one of the longest stretches I remember. It feels like of Anthony Davis being healthy. My reactions right now to the Lakers, I haven't been on the show for a while, so I haven't talked about the Lakers run in a long time. This is like Anthony Davis being healthy and dominant like this is just changes the entire dynamic. This is exactly what the Lakers have wanted since they traded for him. Yep. Anthony Davis is option number 1. LeBron being able to take a step back and be option number 2. That just makes you incredibly dangerous. And my other reaction is these trade deadline moves. I remember our trade deadline show, and I said, I like what the Lakers have done. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have, but I actually like the things that they actually have guys that fit. Wow. Trade deadline moves, that has really worked out well for the Lakers. And they're in a position now. They stole home court, and they have a line to the conference finals now if they can just protect home court.
Yeah, look, this was kind of what we thought they might be able to do, right? Like, this isn't your usual seventh seed with the way they kind of were post All-Star break after the trade deadline with those moves they did. They basically brought in 6 big rotation / starter pieces for him, and those guys have kind of stepped up and done their job really well. And when you get Anthony Davis healthy, this is what this dude is capable of. He's a game changer entirely. He looks like the best defensive player in the world right now with some of the things that he does, right? The rebounding, the defense he gives you, the fact that, this is a huge advantage for him in this series. The Lakers are going to try and go inside and score that way, and the Warriors are going to shoot from 3. And that's why this game was so much fun to me, because both teams played to their strengths. And you kind of have these two diametrically different sides, right?
Yeah.
And it comes down to the final possession, more or less. The Lakers had 54 points in the paint compared to 28 for the Golden State Warriors, but they didn't shoot the 3-ball like Golden State does, because no one does, right? And 21 made threes for the Warriors to 6 for the Lakers. And we get this game with these different styles. Yeah. This is awesome. Like, this is just so much fun.
You don't really see this in today's NBA anymore.
No, like
so
not at
many
all.
teams play the same way that to see this dichotomy on the floor at the same time in a high stakes game, it is kind of like a throwback. And it is fun to watch, to see these guys, get inside and play that inside basketball. But before we wrap this up, shout out to these role players. Obviously, Austin Reeves again makes a big impact, but Dennis Schroeder, late pickup.
He was good.
Russell, late pickup. Both of them dropped 19. Both of them were really good. If you're getting 19 points from Dennis Schroeder in the defense that he was playing, that's huge. That's a game-changing type of performance off the bench. And this is going to be a hell of a series, man. The Warriors are coming off of 7 games. This is going to be a tough one. However this goes, this feels like 7 hard-fought games. That's going to be fun, and whoever comes out of this series is going to be like that's going to be a
battle-tested squad.
They're going to be bruised up. They're going to be icing those knees down for a while. All right, let's get to the Heat and the Knicks. Another improbable semifinals matchup. We'll do that after we talk about BetterHelp. I know personally how much therapy helps. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Therapy is tough because you have to find the right therapist, and it's tough to find somebody in your area, and it's tough to find somebody that fits your schedule. That's why BetterHelp makes things a lot easier, because you just fill out a questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist. It's all done online. It's convenient. It fits your schedule. It can be done however you want, through video, through phone, through text. It's really as customizable as you can get therapy. And whether you're just trying to do some kind of like self-help maintenance, or if you've got something that's really, really bothering you, this is a great way to kind of get yourself back on the right track, find more balance with BetterHelp. And the biggest thing, if you aren't happy with the therapist that you got, you can switch for no additional charge. Go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today. You get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. I want to thank everybody for making this show your first listen. And Jake and I we're playing button tag here over there on the YouTube page. Watch the show on YouTube, by the way. Listen to the show. Tomorrow's show will cover the Celtics and all that, playoff coverage all over the place. Make sure you're listening to the Locked On podcast for all of these teams: Miami, the Knicks, Locked On Lakers, Locked On Warriors. You're going to get the real in-depth stuff there. Let's get to this Miami Knicks series. 111-105, New York. They even up the series. Not pretty for New York. Miami continues to be tough. Playoff Heat, ooh, man, they are annoying. They are the worst. No one should ever want to play Miami. I don't care what happens. I don't care if it's 30 years from now and you've got a bunch of I don't know, guys out there in wheelchairs It doesn't matter. It could be Jimmy Butler, 90 years old, carting around an oxygen tank. I still don't want to play that dude in the playoffs, even though he didn't play in this game.
Udonis Haslem still on the bench, right?
Udonis Haslem he'll still be on a year-to-year contract. But the Knicks make a late run. Jalen Brunson, 30 points, playing on a bum ankle. Big performance. Julius Randle back 25 and 12, overcoming a hot 3-point shooting Miami Heat team that just doesn't want to die, Jake.
Yeah. All right. I was going to come in and be really sarcastic here and be like, what a heroic, gutted out win for the New York Knicks with a little bit of help from the refs here over a team that didn't play Jimmy Butler, that's kind of banged up in the Miami Heat, that probably shouldn't be here in the first place. Great solid win for the Knicks to win by 6. And then you think about it a little bit, right? With some of the injuries that they're dealing with and some of their guys actually stepping up. And it's actually a decent, I'm not going to say this is like the Knicks have arrived, they're really good, but this is actually a good win for them, right? When you get a performance like this from Josh Hart, who's kind of capable of almost giving you a 14-point, 11 rebound, 10 assists. He had 9 assists. He was an assist off of a triple-double, but a performance like that, like those are the type of players you need to step up in the playoffs and win you games. And him kind of doing that dirty work, you're like, oh, yeah, this Knicks team is actually better than we realize. And you didn't get, complete performances from their big men. They had to go small at times because of foul trouble to Robinson and Hartenstein. And yeah, if they kind of had things working a little bit better for them, they could have won by a whole lot more.
They could have. I mean, Emmanuel Quickley was in there in the mix for 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
He didn't play. He did not have a good game at all. That's something that should change. Although I will say, Quickley coming off the bench has been much different than Quickley as the starter. And so that's something you have to watch for in this series. But yeah, they could have gotten more from some of these guys, and it could have gone better. Plus, Miami, you're getting 4 of 8 3-point shooting from Caleb Martin. You got Gabe Vincent, who took 12 3-pointers. But he hit some big ones down the stretch. Duncan Robinson is alive, hitting shots. Like,
yep.
This is you're getting production from Kevin Love. This is, I'm not going to blame a team for struggling to put away Miami, even without Jimmy Butler. That's just the team. They always find a way. Spoelstra finds a way to push the buttons. He finds a way to get Max Strus to make I remember him getting cut from the Celtics in training camp. He was a journeyman, and now he's an important starter in the playoffs for Miami. So I'll never fault a team for having a tough time putting the Heat away.
Look, you had Cody Zeller in the fourth quarter getting key minutes in a close game, and he was good without doing a whole lot, right? As you said, this is the Heat and what they do, and Heat culture is a thing for a very real reason, and this is a big part of that, right? These guys just overperform in the postseason, I think, and it's why they're going to be a tough out. And this is why I'm giving a lot of credit to the New York Knicks instead of just making fun of them the whole time. And I don't want my Twitter mentions to be on fire tomorrow. So they're a tougher team. The Heat are a thing. This is what they do, right? So for the Knicks to get those guys stepping up like they did and kind of close the door on this one and go on the run that they did, right? And seeing Jalen Brunson 12th or 15th in MVP voting, by the way, Jalen Brunson, right? One fifth place vote or whatever it was, lead the team. That's kind of what you're hoping for. And seeing Julius Randle do what he did, I thought he was great in this game too. That's how they are going to win this series, really behind those guys and the others stepping up, and they got what they needed.
You talk about wanting it more, that both of these teams wanted it more. This was a team where both teams really, really fought. That's my biggest takeaway from this game, is how much both of these teams just fought each other, diving, just elbows and everything. Physical basketball. It's not quite 90s Knicks Heat, but for 2023, it's the closest you're going to get to that physical level of play. between these two historic rivals. Like this, I think of Knicks and Heat. I always joke that when I die and go to hell, the 90s Knicks Heat 80-78 final is going to be like those types of games are going to be playing. It was just a physical slow with Pat Riley and Jeff Van Gundy coaching against each other. So we're nowhere near that, but
not with 89 threes being attempted in this game combined.
No, right. But for a game with 89 threes, this was a tough, physical, bruising kind of game that does, again, we talked about the last game that was a throwback. This is a bit of a throwback as well, where these two teams just fought the hell out of each other. And the Knicks, I think, a home court type of thing, won a really hard fought game. But now the question is, can the Knicks win on the road? That's going to be the big thing.
And if Jimmy Butler comes back and when he plays next, and that's big.
That's big. Look, the Heat and the Sixers both got the same kind of advantage. They each stole a game on the road. Guy gets hurt. Guy is hurt. Main player is hurt. And now they have the luxury of sitting them out an extra game.
Yep.
The Heat get to sit him out. They say, you know what? Doesn't matter. We've done what we got to do. We come back home, protect home court. Sixers with Joel Embiid. Don't know when he's coming back, but they stole game one from the Celtics. They can sit him out game two, come back, protect home court. If he comes back for game three, there you go. Joel Embiid, by the way, is the MVP. We're going to play our game of real or fake in just a second. First, I want to thank everybody for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Love it if you make our shows your second listen. Locked On Celtics, Locked On Pelicans for Jake. I mean, Pelicans are rebuilding. There's a lot of questions the Pelicans are going to have. They could be a team that makes noise next year, but they have question marks behind that. And obviously, if you want the scoop on the Celtics, what's their deal here? I'll try to fill you in as best I can.
You'll tell us.
I'll try.
Maybe.
I'll try. On today's show, I've got 3 adjustments the Celtics could make, including potentially sending Al Horford to the bench. So check that show out. Joel Embiid is the MVP. We like to play real or fake on Wednesdays. Every day of the week, each set of hosts has their thing. Our thing is real or fake. We're going to play 2 games of real or fake in this one. So, you ready?
Oh, let's go. I'm always ready.
Joel Embiid is the MVP. Runaway MVP. Got 70, I forget the numbers, 70-something votes to Nikola Jokic's like 18 or so. It was not close. Even after all of that debate. So, let's our first real or fake question. I'll send it to you first. Real or fake? Joel Embiid deserved to be the MVP this year.
So, there's a couple of answers to this. There's layers. The first layer is, yes, it's very real. He absolutely deserved to be MVP. The other layers to this, though, are Nikola Jokic also deserved to be MVP. That would have been real. Mm-hmm. The other layer to that is Giannis also deserved to be MVP. This is one of those years where I don't care who you gave it to. I would have personally voted for Joel Embiid. I would have put it in that order of Embiid, Jokic, Giannis. Easy. That's how I would have done it. But if you had done it in any other order, or if you, like, dear and Locked On NBA listener, want to come to me and be like, you're wrong, Jake, I would have voted Jokic, I would have done it this way. Cool. I'm probably going to agree with you and tell you you're totally fine doing that. All of them had just very strong candidacies for this, and you picked whichever one it was that you liked the best.
Yeah, I'm with you. I obviously the first, I'm with you with the layers too. So obviously the first answer is, of course, Joel Embiid did deserve to be the MVP. He had an MVP level season. However, it's also fake to me because I think Jokic was the MVP, even though now preseason, I remember being on the show and saying it's going to be Embiid because of voter fatigue and people are going to be sick of the giving it to Jokic and it's going to be Embiid's turn. And I do think there's a lot of that at play.
Someone left Jokic off their ballot entirely.
That's stupid.
He wasn't on every ballot. Someone didn't left him off, and that is so dumb to me.
That's ridiculous. And then this is my one little mini rant. I'm gonna try not to expand too crazy, but I think too many people felt like they had too much history on their mind, because they said, Larry Bird had 3 MVPs, Magic, these guys or Wilt, Kareem, whoever it was, legends, pantheon players have 3 MVPs. Jokic isn't a pantheon player, so we can't give him a 3rd MVP. And that's not your job. Your job isn't to determine that history. Your job is to document history. Journalists, sports writers, you're supposed to just say, okay, who was the best? And if Jokic was the best, then vote for Jokic, and say if he won 3 straight MVPs, then let the perspective of down the line determine whether he's a pantheon level player. I think he happens to be pretty close. So, but I'm not sitting here screaming that it's unfair or anything like that. Jokic getting the MVP is perfectly valid as well. He had an MVP level season, and I'm certainly not crying over it. I would have voted differently, but that's just me.
Yeah,
And
that's fine. Like, I think if you just pick whoever you thought was most valid and lay your case out for him, like, you're correct. Just kind of as simple as that. Like, everyone's right here. Everyone's right.
Everyone's right.
Except for the dude who didn't put Jokic on their ballot, and like that person's wrong.
That's pretty dumb. All right. That's one real or fake question. The second real or fake is a lot more fun. A report came out through Shams Charania early on Tuesday that Dillon Brooks will not be rejoining the Memphis Grizzlies under any circumstances. They would not be bringing him back under any circumstances. First of all, I've never seen a leak.
Ever
I've
like
never
this.
seen a story. Like, I can understand the Memphis has informed Dillon Brooks that they will not be re-signing him. Okay, that's fine. That's an interesting story. I can see somebody, but to say in that report, we're not bringing him back, like we're not re-signing him, and we're not bringing him back under any circumstances, is wild to me. So, real or fake, Dillon Brooks is being scapegoated in Memphis for their demise.
So this one has layers too. The short answer is it's real. The long answer is it's probably fake, right? He can be scapegoated for this, and they also needed to get rid of him. You heard their head coach, their front office, even ownership, I think, kind of say, like, we need to kind of work on the culture a little bit in our locker room. We need to tone things down with the trash talking. Like, this can't be us. It's not working, right? Remember John Morant during the All-Star break was like, yeah, I'm good with everyone in the West. Like, I'm not scared of anybody there. And how did that work out for them? We know that the stuff he's gone through this year too, which is probably influenced by the culture in that locker room as well. So they need to change that. And Dillon Brooks, when their entire front office and coaching staff is like, yeah, we're going to tone down the trash talk. We don't want all of this. He's just like, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change. So when someone openly says that, like, yeah, you got to probably boot him out there, especially when they're not actually a good 3-point shooter and a 3-and-D guy, when his 3-point percentage has gone down the past 5 years in the league. So yeah, he's being scapegoated because they're not going to boot out John Morant, right? Even though it seems like there's a culture issue with him and a locker room, whatever it is, a maturity issue, whatever you want to call it with him. They're not going to get rid of him. They're going to get rid of Dillon Brooks also because he's he's going to be a free agent. So yeah, he's being scapegoated. That's true. It doesn't make what they're doing wrong at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they let him walk. That's not a shock. I mean, the message that's being sent, I don't like the way the message was being sent. It's real. It's real. This is very real. But I just don't. I mean, come on. Like, you set yourself up for the jokes. You set yourself up for the comments of like,
so funny,
right?
It was so funny.
It's hilarious, but you're also setting yourself up for the, you want to change the culture, but you're keeping the guy who threatened a child and waved the gun in a strip club, and like all Dillon Brooks did was poke the bear. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so he trash talked and he didn't back it up. That's not quite as egregious as some of the other stuff that we've seen culture-wise in Memphis. Is this really like you're going to take this hard stand? Like, it just feels a little disingenuous, but it is real because you're not firing the coach.
Nope.
He's a good coach. Like you don't want to fire the coach. You're not trading any of the main guys. You're certainly not trading John Morant. Like you're trying to rebuild his image. You're building around that dude. He's a special player. So guess what? Dillon Brooks set himself up. Dillon Brooks talked the trash. He doubled down on it, even though he probably should have been a little bit more contrite. And this was the player equivalent of you can't fire all the players, so you fire the coach. It was, oh, here's an unrestricted free agent that we probably don't want anyway. Watch us make an example of this guy. And I just think it fell flat. Like, yes, he's being scapegoated. I just don't like the fact that Memphis took this tact. It's really, I don't think it cleans up the culture the way they think it cleans up the culture. It makes the team look kind of, I don't know if petty is the right word, but the team doesn't look good like this. The team is supposed to conduct itself with a little bit more class than leaking the he's not coming back under any circumstances.
Well, it's like telling like a class full of kids, right? Like we will fail you if your grades aren't good, and then you actually fail the kid with the F who was going to fail anyway, right? Like this is a guy who in the playoffs this season shot 30. What did he shoot from three? 23.8%, right? And there's more to it than just the trash talk. There's the elbows and things like that. He was suspended for a game in the playoffs last year too. Like it's a little bit beyond that. But you're trying to scare the rest of the team straight, and it doesn't work unless you actually do it to someone who like matters. And let's be honest to them, Dillon Brooks doesn't matter. It hurts him a little bit. If you're, does this rule out like a sign-in trade potentially or something like that you could use because he'd be a piece maybe you could move in something like that to get someone else back? And if you're just shutting that door, you're a little bit like cutting off your nose to spite your face there with it. But I don't think it's also the biggest deal. And even if it does hurt them that they can't do a sign-in trade with him now, it's not like it was ultimately going to matter that much.
I'll throw one thing out there. It just popped into my head. If you're going to treat a player like this, as a franchise, you're devaluing him. Now his value is about as low as it's going to get anyway.
Yeah.
So he probably needs to go to a team to rebuild his value. So he's not going to make a ton of money, but this doesn't do him any favors, right? So
not at all.
He has an agent. He's got clients. There are agents out there watching. How do the Memphis Grizzlies treat their players? This is why buyouts happen. This is why teams accommodate trade requests. This is why teams let guys go to the team that they want to go. They want to be in the good graces of agents because you don't know which agent has which future player, which future free agent you want to get. And you don't want to piss off the wrong people. Because if the Grizzlies are out there, even though it's Dillon Brooks, even though that he's been a jerk, even though that he probably, I'm not saying any of this is undeserved even, but you got to treat the player with some level of class and dignity on his way out because the agents are looking at this. Other players are looking at this. Memphis is not the biggest free agent destination. You've got Ja, you got a winner there. So you are more likely to retract free agents just because of that. But Memphis isn't the biggest draw, generally speaking. And if a guy on the fringe thinks, hey, if I screw up, they're going to like not only jettison me, but like kick dirt on me on my way out. I don't know if I want to go there. I'm going to go to the other good team that could use me. I don't know if that's going to rise to that level, but teams got to be conscious of that. And I think the Grizzlies kind of blew it in that regard.
Yeah, this doesn't do them any good other than send a message to the current crop of guys. It's that simple. And if that message doesn't land because it's Dillon Brooks, this doesn't do you anything good other than just make us laugh on Twitter. It was hilarious, man. Seeing that, we all laughed. We all laughed. The memes and the jokes that came from that were pretty funny. I enjoyed it for a good half hour. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we get to talk about it here too.
It was a wild day on Twitter because of that. All right. Well, that's been a great show. I guess I'll see you again in a month. The next time there's a Tuesday night available. I know if the Celtics extend this series, I won't be here next Tuesday. So we'll see. But generally speaking, I'm your regular Wednesday co-host. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on Twitter at NolaJake.
Make sure you're following us wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe. Get into that YouTube page, the YouTube comment section. Start a conversation. Be part of a conversation. Let us know what you think about the 2 games tonight, the Dillon Brooks situation, Joel Embiid. Do you have another MVP? All of that stuff. Hop into the comments there. And we got Nick Angstead and Pat the Designer tomorrow. So make sure you're listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.